is the position of imamah. That when you come to the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2 of the Holy Quran, He gives us the example of Nabiullah Ibrahim, to where He says that Allah tested Ibrahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Allah Azza wa Jal, after Ibrahim was a prophet, he was tested and then attained imamah. That sometimes we're accused of being ones who exaggerate in the status of the imams when we say that the imam is higher than the prophet. Quran comes and proves this, that Ibrahim was a prophet and then he attained imamah. Allah says, now that I've tested you and I've seen you qualified of being an imam, I will make you an imam for the people. إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Ibrahim then turns to Allah. He says, قَالَ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. And this is the biggest proof that imamah is given by Allah, not by the people. Instantly Ibrahim would turn to Allah. He tells him, how about my family? وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. Allah tells him, لَا يَنَالُ عَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. He says, my covenant isn't given to the oppressors. Notice the strategic language of Allah. He didn't say that the oppressors don't come to my covenant. Allah says, my covenant doesn't go to the oppressors. لا ينال عهدي القوم الظالمين. My covenant doesn't go to them. In other words, Allah is saying that I never allow men to come towards positions. I am the one who gives positions towards the men. That's why it's very funny when you see people who come and say so-and-so was chosen by a council and so-and-so went to a saqifa in which he was appointed and people chose him and they didn't choose Ali ibn Abi Talib. All of this has no place in the religion of Islam. Allah Azza wa Jal, He comes and He says that مَا كَانَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةِ. It isn't for the man, for them to decide, for the people. The people don't decide who's in charge. Hence you'll notice whenever Allah speaks about imamah or He speaks about a position within the Holy Quran, He always uses the key term ja'ala. He says, إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ. This ja'ala is vital. Allah says, I have appointed you to the people. Yes? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Always when He speaks to Adam, ja'ala. Speaks to Ibrahim, ja'ala. That Allah appoints, and He makes this clear within His book, that He appoints, not the people. That Ibrahim was tested, and he then attained imamah. In other words, there are vital conditions that you need to have to be an imam. One of those qualities, as we mentioned, is knowledge. And sadly, we have limited certain qualities to certain imams. And we only know that imam for that quality. Imam al-Sadiq was just as a fighter as Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen was just as a scholar as Imam al-Sadiq. Every imam had the ability to be a spiritualist like Kazim, and every imam had the physical abilities to be a fighter like Ali, and every imam had the knowledge to be a scholar like Sadiq. Yet, what is required in the time, they show it to the people. If the time requires fighting, Imam alayhi salam isn't going to go to Karbala and give them lessons about fiqh and lessons about tawheed. If the time requires patience, as it did in the time of 7th Imam, there was nothing else that 7th Imam could have done except stay patient 14 years in his prison cell. Were Imam to carry a war or to wage a war, Islam would have been destroyed. Hence Imam al-Hasan didn't fight, because the time required patience. That's why when you come to Imam Hussain, one of the sad things that we've limited him to is Hussain the warrior. One of the key things of these series is that we're trying to give new colors of Imam al-Hussain. If we can keep that closed, that would be wonderful. We're trying to give new colors of Imam al-Hussein. One color which we want to look at tonight is Hussein, the intellectual, the knowledge of Sayyid al-Shuhada. When you come and you look at the narrations, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was such a scholar, and indeed a scholar which we've limited to simply being a warrior. Give me your attention. Imam al-Hussein not only fought bodies with the sword, he fought ignorance with his knowledge. You with me? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was a fighter, that we agree upon. What did he fight? On Karbala he fought bodies. He fought what? He fought physical. Yet throughout his life he was fighting ignorance. Through the knowledge, he was closing the doors of ignorance with his knowledge, the knowledge of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Why should we look at the knowledge of Imam al-Hussein? Firstly, because Karbala cannot be separated from ideology. Look at Karbala, at the end of the day, it was an ideological battle. And how do we know that Imam al-Hussein won? Today you have Yazid who has a shrine, Hussein has a shrine. Yes? Today Muawiyah has a shrine and Hussein has a shrine. Muawiyah has visitors, Hussein has visitors. Hussein maybe has 21 million more visitors than Muawiyah, but of course that's a different discussion. They both have visitors. You have the caliphs who have visitors, for goodness sake. Saddam has his shrine, there it is in Iraq, and many people go and visit it and mourn upon the shrine of Saddam. How do we know that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was victorious on the 10th of Muharram? You know how? By one thing, by the ideology of Abu Abdullah. Today, because the ideology of Imam al-Hussein is alive, this is how we know he was victorious. That Yazid won yesterday militarily, yet Hussein won today ideologically. Yes? You know, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, one of his hopes was that, yes, I might lose the battle physically today, yet tomorrow there will be men who will carry out my ideology. You know what Ibn Abi Shakir says about the Imam alayhi salam? When Ali al-Asghar was killed, one dua that we've disregarded, we haven't mentioned too much, is that the Imam alayhi salam would hold up his hands and he would say, Allahumma in kunta qad habista anna al-nasr faj'alhu lima huwa khayrun lana wantaqim min al-zalimin. You know what the Imam said? He said, Oh Allah, if you have trapped victory from us today, if now you don't want to give us victory, then oh Allah, let the future give us victory. What is the Imam saying? Imam is saying, I might not be victorious now, yet I know, oh Allah, tomorrow my ideology will be prevalent, and it's in tomorrow that I will be victorious. Yazid, what's the difference between Hussein and Yazid? Hussein sacrificed the victory of today for the victory of tomorrow. Yazid ibn Muawiyah, he said, never will I lose today, yet for the rest of my life, he became a loser. One sacrificed his beginning for his end, one sacrificed his end for his beginning. In other words, it is through the ideology of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam that we know Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was victorious. Not only that, when you see why they wanted to kill Imam al-Hussein, they wanted to kill him to get rid of an ideology, yes or no? Imam carried an ideology, they wanted to kill him. Yazid killed Hussein so that his ideology can win. Meaning Karbala and the 10th of Muharram in its core was an ideological battle. You agree? One wanted his ideology to be prevalent, and another what? And another, he was saving his ideology through his death. That's why, just as they killed Hussein so that his ideology can die, we shouldn't be ones who limit Hussein simply to the emotion. Wallah, it's one of the saddest things, and let me tell you please, it's one of the saddest things that you realize in the world today. There are some who have limited Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam simply to a tear. All Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is to him is that he comes to Muharram, he wears black, he sheds his tears, he beats his chest, and he hits his head. Now, all these acts, good or bad, mourning about Abdullah al-Hussein is a fantastic thing. There are some who have come, limited the whole movement, the whole Karbala, the ideology, the philosophical aspect, the intellectual. What does he tell you? He tells you, I want nothing to do with the ideology of Karbala. Come, recite Musibah, let me cry. Let the tears fall, let the chests be beat. Now, is Hussein partly a tear? Yes. Is he only a tear? No. Wallah, if there is anyone who has done injustice to the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam today, let me tell you, one of the greatest enemies of Hussein today are his friends. Men who come under a slogan, go and study Islamic history. Who were the ones who tried to diminish the greatness of Islam? Ka'b al-Ahbar, who was a Jew who came under Islam. You agree or no? History is there. Abdullah ibn Munabbih, Jew who came under Islam. Yes? And became a Surah. You look at somebody Wahab ibn Salam, for example, Abdullah ibn Munabbih, yes, all of the Ka'b al-Ahbar, Jewish advisor of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, all of these men, what was their issue? They were Muslims who came under the umbrella of Islam and did havoc to the religion that you and I have. Today, when you see there are certain groups of people, they limited Hussein. Wallah, you hear people, he comes and he says that, don't tell me about ideology, don't tell me about the theories, don't tell me about the philosophy, come and recite and let me hit my chest. You know these groups, who's funding them? Wallah, it's a question that needs to be posed. When we see groups in our societies who are killing Hussein, as we said, Yazid killed Hussein to get rid of his ideology, yes? Therefore, if we're going to kill the ideology, we're going to do what Shaheed Mutahari rahmatullahi alayhi said. What a man of insight, wallah al-azim. You know Shaheed, he came and he said Hussein died twice. People of Iran were shocked. He's like, what is this guy talking about? Hussein died twice. We know he died in Karbala, 61 AH on the land of Karbala. What do you mean he died twice? Ooh, Christians, he was resurrected and he died once again? He would lie, he would say Hussein died twice. Let me tell you why. Firstly, he died in Karbala, and secondly, the Shia killed him. Let's think. What does that mean? Firstly, he died in Karbala. Agreed, Shimr, and the whole incident. What do you mean the Shia killed him? Shia killed him when they limit him simply to a sword. You agree or no? When they limit him simply to a tear. Yes or no? When they limit him simply to a strike on the chest. Yes or no? Hussein in his greatness, I don't know, they're so talented. They were able to compact him to a little strike, to a little chain, to a little sword. That's all Hussein is? Allahu Akbar. Don't only curse Yazid, because you might be the Yazid of the time. Question, who is behind these kinds of groups? Don't take it from me. Take it from reports which have been written. Go look at Kayhan News, Iranian agency. They wrote a report which comes and tells you who is behind such groups. They say their strength comes in a number of things. For example, they're strong when it comes to organization. They're small but organized. You can compare them to the Jews. Small but organized. What else do they have? They use media. Today, if you turn on the channels, this group, media is what is contaminated by their presence. And they have channel after channel, Iranian language in English, they give you in Arabic, they're very keen on spreading their ideology in all languages. What else is their issue? They have money. Question, who funds these kinds of groups? Ayatollah Araki. He comes and he says, I will give you proof that this group is funded by who? Is funded by foreigners and funded by Wahhabis. You hearing what Araki says or no? The groups which we think are the enemies of Islam, Wahhabis, who else is the enemy to Islam? Wahhabis and who else? The Zionist movement. When you put these two groups together, yes? You put them together and Ayatollah Araki comes and argues, he comes and he says, I'll give you proof that it's this group, these two entities are funding them. And wallah, you'll be surprised how they can build mosques even here in London. Yes, they have their mosques here, and they're there, and they have their TV channels, and people are giving them money. and all he has to say is things. He's sitting in the basement, yes? He's in the basement, and he's producing students who nowadays are going up on the minbar and speaking as well. He's sitting in the basement, he's saying this and that with all confidence, with his friends surrounding him in the safety of the UK, and when he walks outside, people surround him, and British police are protecting him, yes or no? He is walking relaxed in his basement. He says whatever comes to his mind. People in Parachanar, you agree, are being killed because of him. People in Iraq being killed because of these kinds of groups. People say, why do you speak about these kinds of things? No! If we don't speak about the Yazids of today, then who are we going to speak about? Wallah, once here in the UK, I mentioned something on the minbar, to be precise, pornography. Okay? I walked there and I said, this is a disease of our youth. Why? You may tell me, why do I speak? Alaikum salam. Why do I speak about these kinds of things? I get emails from youth coming and telling me, brother, this is a disease which I'm facing. Question. If it's going to cause a backlash, yet my youth are being lost because of these kinds of diseases, then when are we going to speak about it? If the minbar wasn't to discuss the... Wallah, a man would come to me and that very Jama'ah, he would tell me, speak about history. Speak about what happened in the past. Speak about Quran. Speak about fiqh. What do you speak about fiqh? If my youth is struggling to keep his iman, you see some Mawlans, with all due respect, and I'm a student of theirs, yet there's a reality to be told. He goes up and he speaks about things of the galaxies and things in the sky, and this youth right here can't wake up for Salat al-Fajr. Ya akhi, you're going to come and speak about the esoteric aspect, which is all fantastic, and even we're going to discuss these kinds of things in this series. Yeah, you're going to come and discuss these kinds of things, while this youth before you struggles to wake up for subuh, struggles to keep his eyes away and his hands from watching certain things. Yani if Hussein didn't come to transform the youth of today, then what did he come to do? Simply to entertain me and give me a novel to be read year after year, close the book and open it up next year? Hussein, brothers and sisters, taken from me and take it from the words of the Imam himself. He is not a story to be told. He's a reformation to the minds. He's a reformation to the hearts. Didn't he tell Muhammad bin Hanafi, his brother, I haven't come for fame, for power, for authority. I have come talaban lil-islah fi ummati jaddi Rasulillah. Isn't that what the Imam alayhi salam said? I have come for reformation. Allahu Akbar. These groups, don't be surprised when they're funded by the ones who are with Mahdi and Jesus have united. And the ones who deny the coming of Jesus, yes? And think also the other group who think he's not born also have united. Do your math and see who those people are. If we put the dots together, you'll see it's very clear who has united against Haqq and who has united and put their hands with Batil. The world slowly, brothers and sisters, let me tell you, slowly, they're beginning to know that the ideology of Hussein is becoming clear. Deals are being struck with countries of Ali ibn Abi Talib, yes or no? While doubts are being implanted toward countries which deny the shrines of Rasulullah from being, doubt is, go and read the political analysis today. Relationships with such countries and with the Wahhabis in Saudi is reaching an all-time low. And relationships with the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib is reaching an all-time high. That when the hadith comes and says Rasulullah or Imam Mahdi would come, Ajjalallah ta'ala for his Sharif, he will come and everyone will be saying La ilaha illallah. We begin to see the evolution, how slowly Haqq is beginning to become known. Therefore, in the time that we have, we want to look at the knowledge of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Are you with me or no? Why? So we don't kill Hussein like many groups in the world have killed and limited about Abdullah and have the enemies of Islam funding them, yet to go up on the minbar and say, Labbaik ya Hussein, we love you Hussein, ya Ghareeb. No. This tongue service was the very problem with Ahl Kufa. It was the very problem with many companions of Ali ibn Abi Talib. It was a problem of all of the Imams. They had people يَقُولُونَ بِأَلْسِنَتِهِمْ مَا لَيْسَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. If you're going to say something, back it up. Don't say, I hate the enemy, when he is the one who bought you the chair to sit on. Don't say you hate the enemy when he is the one who gave you that TV station and gave you the platform to speak on. It's rather hypocritical if you ask me, yes? In other words, let's look at the knowledge of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Hussein the scholar. Firstly, Was Hussein recognized as a scholar in his community? 110%. Let me give you some examples. Firstly, it is said that Imam Hussain alayhi salam, a hadith come and speak about him saying Hussein and Hassan are the inheritors of knowledge. A hadith are there. First narration. Second narration, you have one which comes and says that Muawiyah, you know how he would describe about Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam is? One man would come to Muawiyah. He would tell him, "Oh Muawiyah, where can I find Imam al-Hussein?" He would tell him, "Imam al-Hussein, you find him when you go into the masjid. You will see that everyone is flocking him to learn from his knowledge." This is how they would recognize Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Furthermore, you have who? Sunni narrators such as Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi, he says that there are about 3 people who were known for their knowledge. One of them, for example, somebody like Sinan al-Jarrah, somebody such as Ad-Du'ali, and then somebody such as Hussein ibn Ali. In other words, he was recognized as a scholar. This is the first example. Second example, you come and what do you notice? You'll notice that Al-Aini, he comes and he says, all of these things are necessary. Why? You with me or no? All of these things are necessary so we can know who Hussein the scholar is, so that we don't kill Hussein like many groups have done today. You look at somebody, he comes and he speaks about Hussein such as by the name of Al-Aini. Al-Aini, what did he say? Al-Aini came and said that when Hussein would be sitting down, people would surround him to learn from his knowledge to such an extent that they would say, "We don't feel we're sitting next to a human, we feel like we're sitting next to a man who is surrounded by the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." Allahu Akbar. You know why he would say such a thing? Because Imam would be always disseminating his knowledge. Hussein was a scholar at his core. He would be always disseminating his knowledge. In other words, you'll notice not only that, many scholars would approach Imam al-Hussein for knowledge. Let's see how this happened. You look at somebody like Abdullah ibn al-Abbas, the scholar of the era, son of Ibn al-Abbas, a scholar like his father. Son of Abdullah ibn Abbas, he would come to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he would pose to him a number of questions. You with me or no? He would tell him, for example, "Oh Imam, what is the ruling of a child? When should we forgive him? When should we forgive the child?" He would tell him, "Whenever the child begins to cry, it's incumbent upon you to forgive him." And this is a lesson for all of our children, for all of our fathers, with due respect. You notice, at least in some communities I know, for example, the Iraqi community, when the son cries, that's the sign where you begin to beat him even more. That's the green light to keep on going. That really isn't Islamic philosophy. Islam, as Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam came and told of Abdullah ibn Abbas, when he cries, that's the red light. Not the green light to keep on going, and we are there to go 90 miles per hour, but before you were going 70, you increase the speed. That's what he would ask him. He would continue to ask him. He would tell him, "Oh Imam, what is the ruling on drinking while standing?" Because sometimes we have heard the hadith that sitting down is mustahab. Yes, it might be mustahab to sit down and drink, yet Abdullah ibn Abbas wanted this clarified from the source of knowledge itself. He would tell him, "Oh Imam, what is the ruling on a man who wants to stand and drink water?" He would tell him, "Let me tell you very clearly. You see that camel? Let it come to me." The camel comes to the Imam. He milks the camel and he begins to drink from it while standing. He says, "Did you get your answer?" And he said, "Yes, it's not an issue." In other words, they would always ask the Imams for questions specifically about Abdullah. He was known as a scholar of the era. Yes, he was known as the scholar of the time. Furthermore, if you want to know the knowledge of Imam al-Hussein, come and look at his position in ahadith. Allahu Akbar. The position that Abu Abdullah played when it came to ahadith was central, and you can argue second to none. Firstly, how many people, about 20 individuals, ahadith come and tell us, narrated ahadith from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. They took from him. That's the first aspect. For example, who? Fatima bint al-Hussein, Sakina bint al-Hussein, Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sajjad, somebody like Akrama ibn Uthman, somebody like Sinan ibn Dawood, somebody such as, furthermore, Farazdaq himself. About 20 names they give us of men who narrated knowledge from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Who did Imam narrate from? Imam alayhi salam narrated mainly from three people. Firstly, from who? From Rasulullah. Look at the hadith in which he mentions, on the authority of Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Ahsan, thank you. The hadith from Rasulullah is an interesting one, and it's a hadith which shuts the mouths of those who think that Islam is a religion of terrorism. Look at the hadith. Imam Hussain alayhi salam says, one day, I would go to the sword of Rasulullah, and I saw on his sheath there was written a paper. What was written on the paper of Rasulullah's sword? It was written on it, whoever kills somebody, this is the worst, without him killing him, it's the worst sin. And whoever harms somebody without him harming him, or attacks somebody without him attacking him, this is one of the most detestable sins in Islam, until he says, and one who stays away from that which Allah has given him of ni'mah. Firstly, look at what Islam comes and says. You know how many people around the world come and say today Islam is the religion that encourages killing? Just open up Fox News. They've done a fantastic job, and you have to give it to them, in making it look that Islam is the religion of what? It's the religion of killing. Kill him wherever you find him. Wallah, if you see any non-Muslim nowadays, especially on TV, he has about 2 verses of the Quran memorized. He forgot the 9,900 ones that speak about the mercy and the rahmah of Allah. He has memorized nearly about 2 verses which speak about kill him wherever you find him and kill him wherever you see him. These are the 2 verses that he's memorized. The Quran, which begins every verse with Rahman ar-Rahim, he forgot that part. Why? Amnesia, whatever it may be, Allahu A'lam. In other words, you'll notice that Rasulullah's sword had written on it what? Don't kill anyone if he doesn't kill you. Don't attack somebody if he doesn't attack you. And whoever does so, Allah will keep his ni'mah away from him. First hadith from Rasulullah. Secondly, if you would find from who, if he narrates from Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Thank you. The hadith from the Imam alayhi salam is powerful. You know what he narrated on the authority of the Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen? He said that Ali ibn Abi Talib has said, do not indeed do something where you become excessive in it. You notice there's a lot of people, when he does something, he does it with no balance. Either he eats too much or he eats too little. Have you heard the hadith that your stomach is supposed to have three departments? 1 department for water, 1 department for food, 1 department for what? For air. Wallah, I think we think air is a type of food. I don't know what happened. Air, I tell you, if you haven't heard it, hear it from me. Air is not a type of food, brothers and sisters. Air is what we're breathing right now. He would tell him, don't do anything excessively. Don't do anything excessively. In the sense that balance is key. Some people, you know what's the red light to tell him stop eating? When the button of his pants explodes, yes, and it hits the person sitting in front of him, that tends to be the red light of telling him stop eating. No, Islam comes and says خَيْرُ الْأُمُورِ أَوْسَطَهَا, the best of conditions are the ones that are medium. We've made you a balanced ummah. Quran comes and says so on and so forth. What did he narrate from Fatima to Zahra? Fatima to Zahra alayhi salam has a very powerful line to give me attention on this vital point. Fatima alayhi salam, he would narrate from her authority, where he would say, do not, on the authority of Fatima to Zahra, where she would say, whoever from day till night didn't do anything, he is a loser. I have some friends, you ask him, what did you do today? He tells you, I played, what is it, Call of Duty or whatever these games are nowadays. I play. How many hours did you play it? Wallah, I have a cousin, his eyes were shot red. I said, he must have had a khushu' today in his salah. His sujood today must have been a powerful one. My cousin, what did you do today? Call of Duty, 14 hours. 14 who? How much you know about I don't need 14 hours. Give me 14 ma'soom. How much you know about them? Allahu Akbar. And it's an ability. All they have to do is to sit down for 14 hours. That concentration, and this is on a serious note, when they have that ability to concentrate in video games, that's excellent. You know why? Because that shows he has the ability to concentrate. You just need to take it and channel it towards another direction. Channel it towards Salah, channel it towards Quran. That shows that he has the seed of the ability to concentrate. Some can't even concentrate. Fatima Zahra alayhi salam says, if from day until night you haven't done anything, you are a loser. You know what 6th Imam alayhi salam says? If 2 of your days are equal, you are a loser. Allahu Akbar. Not 2 years. Some people, last year and this year, he's at the same level of spirituality, at the same level of knowledge, yes or no? Same level of the success of his businesses and so on and so forth. Now there are people who live his life like this, yes? There are others who lives his life like this, goes down, gets worse, worse and worse. That's even more dangerous than being balanced. There are others who know he's constantly struggling till he becomes a better human being. Brothers and sisters, the goal is not to reach perfection, because we can't reach perfection. Nobody can become perfect except the Imams, the Prophets, and who Allah has sent. The goal is to die striving towards perfection. You can't reach perfection. Maqam Mahmud is only something attained by the Prophet of Islam. You cannot attain perfection. The goal is to die while continuing to climb the hill. The peak of the hill, we don't know where it is. إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ. Quran comes and says, you're struggling and striving to what? Until you meet me. When do I meet Allah? Until death. Therefore, I keep on going there. Fatima Zahra says the following. In other words, Imam narrated from some, and some narrated from him. Yeah, in the time that we have remaining, we want to look at what are the aspects of knowledge that the Imam himself spoke about. What did the Imam speak about? His ahadith are replete within our books. I'm going to give you nearly about 5 aspects of the knowledge of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Let us see, what did the Imam say, so we know who Hussain the scholar is, and we don't kill him like many have done today. Firstly, you look at the practical narrations of the Imam. Practical in what sense? Firstly, social. Imam has a fantastic hadith in which he gives you the brother. What is the definition of the brother, Ya Aba Abdullah? The friend. He says the brothers are 4 types. Firstly, you have the brother who is your friend and he is for you and for himself. That's the first one. The second one is just for you. The third one is due to you. He's in need of you. And the fourth one, neither is he in need of you, nor is he in need of himself. Neither is he there for you, nor is he there for himself. Let us see, what does the Imam mean by these 4 different types? First example is one who is there for you and for himself. This might be the majority of human beings out there. When you make a friendship, you see that there's some interest in this friendship, where you can gain something, and also you can make his life better. He has a bit of selflessness in his personality. He's neither for himself completely nor for you completely. That's the first one. The second one, he's in there for you. This kind of human being is rare because he's completely altruistic. There is nothing in him for himself. Everything he does is for, he's completely detached himself from greed. He's detached himself from self-interest. He's completely there for you, altruistic inside and out. That's the second one. The third one, he's due to you. And this one is a dangerous one. Imam comes and says, this one, he's in there simply to see when can he make a deal out of you. When he can make an opportunity from you. When can he get a job through you? When can he find a wife? Through you. When can he just make his life better through you? It's basically simply opportunistic. Just as Imam Sadiq comes and says, there are those who are with Allah just opportunistic. They just want his heaven. This kind of a friend is in the same basket. The fourth one, I don't know how to explain him. Neither is he there for you, nor is he there for himself. It's like befriending a cucumber. I don't know how to explain it to you. Neither is he there for himself, nor is he there for you. I don't know how to explain it. Imam comes and says, this person is a fool, and Allah has removed any mercy from him. Neither is he there for you, nor is he there for himself. Why do you live? Someone can please tell me. In other words, the social aspect, Imam alayhi salam comes and speaks about firstly the brother. Then he has beautiful narration which he says, don't allow somebody to enter your house unless he says salam. Salam, by the way, is different than what's up. Salam is not the same as how are you. Salam is not the same as Kincha? How do you say it? Kincha, yes? It's not the same as these greetings that we know in our culture and in our language. No. Salam is what? Qilan salaman salama. Allah, when He speaks about the people of Jannah, they speak to one another saying, peace, peace. Qala salamun alayk. Ibrahim would say to his uncle, peace be upon you. Therefore, there's a difference between salam and the greetings which we have. Thirdly, Imam comes and says there are 70 pieces of ajr for greetings. 69 are for the ones who initiate. Wallah, if we knew the importance of saying Salamu Alaikum. Alaikum Salam gets 1. Salamu Alaikum gets 69. If we knew the importance of initiating the salam, not just responding, then I promise you we'd be fighting over who's going to initiate it. Yes? That's the third one. Fourthly, when you come and speak about social etiquette, you have, for example, narrations which come and say, if somebody invites you, never deny his response. One of the etiquettes of a Muslim, as Imam Hussain alayhi salam explains, if somebody invites you, for dinner, and you're neither fasting nor you have something that keeps you busy, it's rather obligatory, or it's recommended highly that you accept his, as we say, invitation. One quote in Arabic says, لا يرد الكريم إلا البخيل. None will deny the generous except for the miserly. Therefore, Imam gives social. What did he give still under the practical umbrella of personal? He gave beautiful ones. It is said that one man would come to Imam Hussain alayhi salam and he would tell him, oh Imam, I want to sin. He told him, no worries, do these 5 things, you can sin as much as you want. Anybody who wants to sin, if you do these 5 things, you can do whatever you want. Good deal. What are the 5 things? Firstly, do not live on a land which Allah has created. That's the first one. Don't eat, Imam tells him, don't eat from what Allah has grown out of His earth. Do not be one who lives on the dominion of Allah. Yes. Go somewhere where Allah can't see you. Yes. He says, if you do these number of things, then you can sin as much as you want. Don't eat, don't sleep where Allah has created, don't let Allah see you, don't do anything that Allah knows about. These 5 things, do them, you can sin as much as you want. The man would reply, he would say, Imam, what do you mean? I can't do any of these things. He says, precisely my point. How do you have the audacity to commit a sin against the one who gave you the tongue and you speak ill about him? Wallah, it's a difficult one. We disobey Allah with the hand which He gave us. We look at haram with the eyes that Allah has given us. We listen to haram with the ears that Allah has given us. Imam comes and says, you want to do haram, go and do it. But move to a place where Allah cannot see you. Yes? That's the first thing. Secondly, in regards to personal betterment, the Imam alayhi salam has a beautiful hadith. And wallah, this hit me when I heard it. You know what it says? Don't trust anyone who does not fear Allah. How do you know who to trust? Trusting people is one of the biggest problems in this world today. Who to trust? And when I say don't trust anyone except he who fears Allah, as the Imam says, one who speaks on a pulpit, one who is very knowledgeable, one who leads the ummah, one who wears the clothing of Islam, isn't necessarily somebody who fears Allah. Scholars were one of the biggest enemies in the times of the Imams alayhim salam. What's my point? My point is that how do you know somebody who fears Allah? Huh? You know somebody who fears Allah by his actions, not by what he knows. Not what's in here, but what's in here. That when you come and look at the hadith, scholars, somebody for example, such as the scholar in the time of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, who At-Ta'i, Hatim At-Ta'i, in the time of the Imam alayhi salam, was known for his generosity, but other companions, for example, when they, Shuraih al-Qadi is the name that comes to mind. Shuraih al-Qadi was known to be what? To be known for his knowledge. Shuraih al-Qadi, you know that famous story when the Imam came to the court and he would have his armor, and the Jew wanted it from him. The famous story, who was the judge that was in front of them? Shuraih al-Qadi. In other words, Shuraih al-Qadi, you know who he ended up being? He was one of the individuals who exposed Muslim ibn Aqil when he was in the house of Hani, Kufa. He was one of those who exposed. Scholar, my point is that one who fears Allah isn't known by what he says and by what he knows. He can be the one who eats you inside and out and looks for any opportunity to ruin you. It's the one through his actions. Rasulullah comes and says, no, a human being, al-Muslim, man salim al-nas, the Muslim is the one who people become safe from his tongue and from his hands. Yes? That's why I remember another man, also under this umbrella of personal betterment. One man, he would come to the Imam alayhi salam, he would tell him, what's the best thing to do? He would say, belief in Allah. He would say, what else? He would tell him, be intellectual as well as knowledgeable. Knowledge isn't enough, you have to be intelligent. He would tell him, what else? He would tell him, be patient when you are poor. He would tell him, what if I can't do that? He would tell him, be generous when you're rich. What if I can't do that? Be patient when you are poor. He would say, what if I can't do that? Imam would get fed up with him. He would say, maybe let me consume this kind of an individual. Yes. Imam alayhi salam then would give him, of course, from his money, of his purse, and the man would become wealthier on the generosity of the Imam. That first to the hadith of the Imam alayhi salam falls under practical. Then you come to more relevant in the time that we have. Imam alayhi salam, for example, what kind of narrations would he give? He would give narrations that dealt with charity. There's a beautiful narration of the Imam where he speaks about charity. He says charity is not what you give when it is unlawful. With some people, he steals money and he gives it in charity to make himself feel better. Imam comes and says, this doesn't work. Charity, he comes and he says, charity is the money that you gained and the means which you gained while your face was smeared in the dust and your face was soaking with sweat. Allahu Akbar. He says, that's real charity. Huh? You know what Imam continues? He says, the simile of the one who gives unlawful means to charity is like the one who gives while stealing from the Hujjaj. He steals money from the Hujjaj and he goes and gives it in charity. In Hajj, a lot of stealing can take place. I remember my dad, he says, he was one day in Hajj and he would feel a hand going into his pocket. You know, it's not every day you feel random hands going into your pocket. He would feel the hand going into his pocket. He looks at him, he sees a 6'7" African American brother. He tells him, Bismillah, take whatever you want. That sometimes when you take unlawful means, Imam says this isn't considered as charity. That's the third type of hadith he would give. Furthermore is a fantastic one. Kinds of narrations which the Imam gave in reframing the perceptions of the human beings. Listen to this narration very carefully. If I come and I ask you, how are you doing? How was your day? You're fine. The max you would go to, alhamdulillah, this and this happened. You know what the Imam, one man would come to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he would tell him, how was your day? Look at the reply of Imam al-Hussein. He gives him a lecture. He tells him, my day I began knowing that Allah is watching me, with death before me, knowing that death seeks me, and knowing that indeed that hell is before me. I cannot get that which I want, nor can I stay away from that which I don't want. I'm stuck in a whirlpool of my deeds until he tells him, I am living a life in which I know everything I do, I will be standing before God and asked upon it. Therefore, who is more needless and helpless than me? Imam, he just asked you how are things going. What is the Imam doing? Imam completely reframed his mind. He's telling him, when you wake up, realize a number of things. Realize God is above you. Death is... How many of us wake up thinking about these things? We think about business, we think about money, which is great. Going after means for your life is fantastic. Yet the Imam says, wake up knowing that God is before you. Death is seeking you. Hell is under you. You can't stay away from what you don't want, and you can't get that which you do want. Therefore, Imam says, who's more helpless and needy than me? Allahu Akbar. Imam is reframing his mind, yes? Therefore, in social hadith, regarding charity, telling them how to do things. What else? In regards to training and reforming their perceptions. And then lastly, in the time that we have, theological, which is rather key if you ask me in this discussion. Imam alayhi salam would be approached and asked about key issues which our youth are facing. Why do I mention these kinds of things? Because these are issues which implant doubt in the minds of our youth and even maybe in our minds. Issues such as predestination. Imam alayhi salam comes forward and explains predestination on a letter which Hassan ibn Hassan al-Basri would send to him. What would the Imam alayhi salam reply? He would tell him, oh Imam, what is predestination? If you want the details, you can find it online. He would reply in detail. What would he say? He would say, for example, it's wrong upon a human being to think that evil comes from Allah. And it is wrong for a human being to know or to think that destiny isn't true. That there is good destiny and there is bad destiny. Yeah, then he continues speaking about free will, which is key in the discussion about predestination. He tells him it is indeed Allah who has given you the ability to do what you want. The discussion of predestination is a vital one. What do we think? Because you have the Ash'arites, you have the Jabarites. Al-Muhammad came and said, neither is it completely robotic and predestined, nor is it complete free will. What is it? It's in the middle. You do certain things, yeah, your age, your color, for example, your family members, your height, your eye color, these are things which are predestined. You can see it, as many ulama can explain beautifully, as a big circle, which is predestination, a small circle of free will in the middle. In other words, the Imam alayhi salam would explain predestination. Furthermore, one man would come to Abu Abdullah and he would tell him, what does samad mean? قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. What is Samad ibn Rasulullah? Imam would go on a rant giving him simply what one word means. You know, sometimes there are certain games you touch something and all of a sudden it expands into something bigger. For example, I don't know these games that I think exist. You touch something and it expands, it gives you a whole new world. Imam alayhi salam, you touch one word, boom, he explodes into a whole beacon of light and knowledge for you. Yet he needs to be touched. And Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, the problem is that they wouldn't even approach him, they would have pushed the buttons. One man would come to him, he would tell him how many, he would say, Saluni, ask me, I know more than the skies than the earth. One man would ask him, how many pieces of hair do I have in my beard? You know what the Imam replied to him? Wallah, the hadith is interesting. He tell him, if I want to, I can tell you. But you have near every piece of hair a shaitan sitting next to it. Yes. He would tell you have a shaitan sitting next to each piece of the hairs on your beard. That there were beacons and now you just need to press it. One man pressed the button. Let's see what happened. He told him, what is samad? He would respond, the Imam alayhi salam. He would say, samad is that you realize lam yalid. He does not give birth. Meaning what? Self-sustaining, samad, as many translate, if you go to some translations, samad, self-sustaining, he doesn't do independent, but it's a unique type of independence. In what sense? He said it's clarified, Imam says, by lam yalid and walam yulad. As for lam yalid, he doesn't give birth. Meaning, there's no thoughts that come from Allah. Imam says, there's no dirt that comes from Allah like dirt comes from a child. There's no grief, there's no sadness, there's no happiness from Allah. And when he says lam yalid, he doesn't give birth, not only to human beings, as we can falsify the whole discussion of Christianity and Jesus with this argument, he doesn't give birth. No, but even on an emotional, on a sensational, and on a sentimental level, grief doesn't come from Allah, nor does sadness, nor does happiness. Lam yalid, walam yulad. He doesn't originate from everything. One day a man would come to one of the imams, he would tell him, when was Allah born? He said, tell me when he didn't exist so I can tell you when he was born. He told me, oh Imam, when did Allah die? When will he die? He would tell me when he will never exist so I can tell you when he will die. Otherwise, Imam would tell him, Samad in complete detail. Then one more example in the time we have is what? Monotheism. One day, Ibn Abbas would be standing in his ummah, to which he would be speaking about animals and ants and mosquitoes. One man by the name of Nafi' would come to him, Nafi' ibn Arzaq. He would come to him, he would tell him, oh Imam, he would tell him, oh Ibn Abbas, speak to us about the God that you worship. You're speaking to us about mosquitoes and ants. What are you doing? Speak to us about God. Instantly, he would put his head down, and Abu Abdullah was sitting near him. He would tell him, Nafi', come here. He would say, I didn't speak to you. I was speaking to Ibn Abbas. It's almost as if he was afraid of the Imam. He says, Ibn Abbas, I can deal with him. It's kind of difficult to deal with you. Maybe I can do something with Ibn Abbas. He would say, come here. Ibn Abbas would stand up. He would say, this is Hussain who comes from the family who inherit knowledge. Allahu Akbar. he would go to Imam alayhi salam. He would tell him, firstly, do not go too deep into monotheism. When you go and read the books, there are many times where the Imam comes and says, don't go too deep into God. Don't go too deep into monotheism. Don't go too deep into Quran. Question, why are they telling us this? We thought it's great to go to the house and go until you die, read the books. No, when he says don't go too deep, Imam alayhi salam is trying to give him something on his level. That this is a man who the Imam knows is limited on his intellectually. Therefore, the Imam isn't going to give him something which is way beyond him. He's telling him, don't go too deep. Meaning, for you, what I'm going to tell you is enough. He would say, indeed, he is Allah, whose sensations don't come from him. Eyes cannot perceive him. He exists. He's close to you, but he is far. He is far from you, but he is close. Yes, he is one, but he can't be divided. Imam alayhi salam would continue until he gives him monotheism in its core. He would say, Allahu Akbar. Indeed, what Ibn Abbas said, that you inherit knowledge, is very true. In other words, when you see the practical, number one, in regards to charity, in regards to changing their perceptions, in regards to the advice that the Imam gave, in regards to theological knowledge, you see that Aba Abdullah wasn't just a warrior in Karbala who fought bodies with his swords. He fought ignorance with his knowledge to the utmost levels. Imam, whenever he would see a gap of doubt, he would fill it up with his light and with the knowledge that he had. And it's for this reason that the companions of the Imam were filled with confidence, because of the knowledge that they had. Sometimes people say, what is the key to this confidence? How is the Imam so confident, always saying, I am this, I am that? It's quite arrogant from Ali ibn Abi Talib to say these kinds of things. Some people may argue. I know an alim who did a whole research about how many times Imam Ali says, Ana. We're encouraged to be humble, we're encouraged to be simple. How many times did Imam Ali say, I am Quran, I know this, I am the first, I am the... Ya Ali, isn't that a bit too much? What do you mean, where did this confidence come from? It's the knowledge of these human beings is what gives you confidence. You know the verse I began with what Allah says, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Allah fears from his scholar, or the scholars fear, the ones from the servants of Allah who fear Allah are the scholars. Yes, Habib ibn Mudahir would read the Quran once every day. Abis ibn Abi Shabib al-Shakiri, he would go onto the field, he would take off his armor. They would tell him, oh Abis, what are you doing? Are you crazy? He would say, yes, I am crazy. The love of Hussein has made me gone crazy. Allahu Akbar. This confidence, where did it come from? Or the confidence of Ghafariyan brothers who would be seen smiling on the 10th. They would tell him, why do you smile? They would say, how could we not smile when in a few moments the cup of water being given to us will be given by Rasulullah? Yes. This confidence came from the knowledge that they had. And if you want to see confidence, it was from the reply of that young boy who Hussein asked, how do you see death? He would tell him, Bunay Qasim, how do you see death? You know, he would reply. A reply of a 14-year-old is a quite heavy reply, the reply that Qasim came with. Some say he was 12, some say he was 14. He was still a teenager, like many of the beautiful faces you see sitting down here. Qasim alayhi salam would tell him, Oh Aba Abdullah, if it's for you, ahla min al-asal. If it's for you, O Aba Abdullah, I see it as sweeter than honey. You know why it was difficult for the Imam to let go of Qasim? Because whenever they wanted to see Rasulullah, they looked at Akbar. But whenever they wanted to see Hassan, they would look at Qasim. Allahu Akbar. He would come to him, he would tell him, Ammah ya Hussein atadhununi lil qital. Uncle Hussein, do you give me the permission to fight? He would tell him, Allahu Akbar, Qasim, anta al-wadi'a. You are the trust of my brother Hassan. I can't let go of you now. He would go back to his mother crying. She would tell him, why do you cry, Qasim? He would say, I cry because the Imam denied me from the honor to fight for Allah. She would tell him, take this letter to Aba Abdullah. Imam goes and Qasim gives the letter to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Imam opens up the letter. He says, what is this? He says, read. This is from my mother. He opens up the letter and it says, oh Hussein, this is your brother Hassan. What did the letter say? If you ever are alone in Karbala and no one is there to support you, then I want you to give the permission to my son Qasim to go and fight. It said that when he came out of the tent walking towards the Imam began to cry. You know why? Because he saw Qasim wearing the turban of Imam al-Hassan. He saw Qasim wearing the clothes of Imam al-Hassan, walking to him, reminding him of his brother. Anyone who has lost a brother, you know the special, Allah, there's a special relationship with the brother. When he saw Qasim coming, flashbacks of his life with Imam al-Hassan came to him. He would tell him, Qasim, I must give you the permission now. Qasim goes on to the field, saying, if you don't know me, then I am the son of Hassan. I strike you with my sword, a powerful strike. Ajarakumullah. Qasim, while he was fighting, his sandal rips open. Qasim goes down to fix his sandal when an enemy of Allah comes and strikes Qasim on his head. Qasim falls to the ground. Yeah, he says, Adrikni Amma ya Hussein. Oh, Uncle Hussein, come and aid me. Qasim, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, comes to him. He sees him in his last moments. He says, you have made your father proud. Oh, Qasim. Qasim closes his eyes. Qasim leaves the world. Allahu Akbar. Yeah, you know what the Imam would do? Because you know Akbar was the first one to die. Imam would take Qasim. He would go back to the tents. He lays Qasim down to his left and lays Akbar down to his right. And the Imam lays down between them. I say, what were you doing, O Aba Abdullah? How much your heart was it? You had to lay, you had to sympathize. The poet says, he says, Qasim to my left, Akbar to my right. How I wish their mother would never see the sign. Bismillah.
कासिम नौशाद का लाते हैं लाशा हुसैन पीटो सर अहले अज़ा लाते हैं लाशा हुसैन मादर कासिम ने लाश पे रो रो कहा आ गई तुमको कज़ा लाते हैं लाशा हुसैन सिन का करूं क्या बयां साल था वो तेरवा हाय पुररमा चला लाते हैं लाशा हुसैन बाप का नूरे नजर अम्मा का लखते जिगर खुद पसंद आ गया लाते हैं लाशा हुसैन अम्मा से रुखसात तलब क्यों नहीं होते क्या हुआ तुमको भला लाते हैं लाशा हुसैन लाशे कासिम पे जा पीट के सर यूं कहा क्या हुई हमसे खता لاتے ہیں لاشا حسین مرنے سے تیرے پسر ہوئیں گے ہم در بدر گر ہوا ماتم سرا لاتے ہیں